100 years later, the 1925 tri-state tornado still holds many records. Photographs and stories from that day continue to be passed down, ensuring that the historic storm and the lives it took are never forgotten. Jamie French took a closer look at an important piece of tri-state history in this segment from our spring weather special, which first aired earlier this evening.
March 18th, 1925. A day forever seared in people's hearts, minds, and the history books. It was the day of the deadliest and most devastating storm in all of United States history. The Great Tri-State Tornado.
And it was such an unwarned community that when it hit, they had no clue what was getting ready to happen.
It was just after 4 o'clock on a calm Wednesday afternoon in Princeton, Indiana. A massive, relentless storm was brewing just southwest of the city, and the people there had no idea.
I looked at the newspaper from the day before, which a lot of people got their weather forecast out of that or the Farmer's Almanac, right? And the weather on the day before the tornado hit Princeton, it said fair to partly cloudy, with a chance of wind. Well, there was a chance of wind, all right, but it was a massive amount of wind.
Princeton mayor and local historian Greg Wright spent years studying the 219-mile path of destruction. The monster storm began in Ellington, Missouri around 1 in the afternoon, killing 11 people in its path. It hopped the Mississippi River into southern Illinois, ripping across multiple towns, including areas of White County. After killing more than 600 people in Illinois, the twister sped across the Wabash River and demolished the towns of Griffin, Owensville, and Princeton. The storm took 71 lives in Indiana, then dissipated just southwest of Petersburg.
You think about Griffin. Griffin was absolutely demolished. I mean, there was nothing left. Some of the pictures that we have, it's just a field of boards.
Preserving the old photographs and artifacts from that day is the job of Alan Burr, local historian and genealogist.
So these are just really a collection of some of the most striking images from the tornado, but I also have 2 obituary lists from our town. Some of these people were really very, very young. I mean, you have Nellie Cooper, who lost her life at the Heinz plant. Edna Wilkinson was 10, and Lloyd Wilkinson was 7.
The tornado destroyed 2 major employers on the south end of the city, Southern Railway shops and the Heinz factory. Around town, people often refer to Baldwin Heights as ground zero of the tornado. Baldwin Heights School was hit hard, a building left only as a shell of itself.
There was a school right where we're standing, and it was pretty well destroyed by the tornado. And fortunately, the school was out. If the tornado would have hit an hour earlier, there would have been a lot of casualties.
Robert Gibson Jr. is now passing on the stories of his in-laws who survived the storm as children.
Fortunately, the shop's employees were on their way home. One of my wife's grandfathers worked there, and he saw the storm coming. He hid behind a building, but still got hit by my father-in-law called it a brick bat, and it broke his leg. And he was in the hospital for a number of weeks. Said he was the next to the last person released from the hospital.
Gibson says his wife's parents' home was destroyed on that day, and it was a horrific memory they could never really get past.
If they hadn't survived, you know, my life would have been different.
The path of the tornado tore through the south side of Princeton, but luckily on that day, a majority of the people weren't there. They were here in the Princeton Square.
On that fateful Wednesday in 1925, there was a special kind of drawing and sale happening in the square. Well, that sale gave hundreds of people a chance at survival without them even realizing it.
If the folks wouldn't have left their homes to go downtown to be present to win in the drawings and things that were going on that day, we would have had hundreds more killed.
Whenever they walked in to the stores, they had no idea what was going on in the south end of town until people started rolling in, bruised, bloodied, some people even dying. They had no idea.
Martial law was declared in Princeton, and the National Guard came in to protect the disaster-stricken areas. The day after the tornado, stories shared by survivors say that Princeton sounded like a construction site. 1 month later, Baldwin Heights School reopened. The Heinz factory and Southern Shops restarted operations. New homes were sprouting up in neighborhoods.
And the fact that they were able to rebound and pull together, there's the word unity and the word community, right? It was just like, oh, we went through a bad thing, but let's roll up our sleeves and let's make the best of this.
A century later now, people continue to remember that tragic day and the lives lost. The horrific stories from survivors will continue to be passed down for generations to come. And the towns, once destroyed, will continue to push on.
I think that this anniversary stands as just a marker that people are resilient. People can make it through, and they can still go on to lead prosperous and normal lives, even in the face of tragedy.
Historians say the lack of tornado sirens and weather warning systems in 1925 played a major part in the record-high death toll. Now, this story, as well as the rest of the weather special, are available to watch in full on 14news.com.